Hi everyone, we're about to get started. So it's great that you all made it here, and I'm not a man of many words, so I will pass it on to the guy you all know, Nicolas.
Hey guys, nice to have you there today. Let's get started. So we have some streaming, so if you want to share the reel on your Twitter, you go on summit.x.org/stream, and there will be streaming for people that couldn't attend today. So today I will go with a French menu about what we're going to have for today's talk. As a starter, we'll have a HaxeFoundation cook with its numbers. As a main course, we'll have LaTeX features with an HL source. And at the dessert, we'll have HaxeSuccess 2017 edition. So I hope you enjoy the menu. Starter. So yeah, I realized when I was preparing this talk that many of you know about HaxeFoundation, but you don't exactly know who we are, what we do, how we work, and exactly what is the scope of the things we are doing. So we had many discussions in the past with different people which have kind of misconceptions about the way we work and the way we do things. So I wanted to clarify things and explain you exactly about all of this. So first I will start brief history of what we came up to put this together. So I started doing Haxe in 2005, which is a lot of time ago. It was just hacking on my free time and writing a small compiler, and it's I wouldn't realize it will I will be there more than 10 years after that, and but yeah, it was just small scope at first, and I did that for many years. At this time I was working for another company, and I did most of the work on my free time, and I did a big part of the work on my company time. So when I left the company in 2012, and to start a new company called Shiro Games I'm working right now, I think it was a good idea to transfer all the rights about Haxe, about the brand, about the website, about the source code to a distinct body that will hold the thing that will not be tied to a particular company or something. So that was my first motive to create HaxeFoundation. So I did set up it, and then we start having partners, which are companies that was using Haxe quite a lot in the code. That wanted to have some kind of support. Someone to call or to ask for it in case they had some bugs or some more long-term issues they wanted to see resolved. So we put together a sponsorship program that allows companies to give us some money to have their logo on the website, which is nice also, and to sponsor us to keep developing Haxe further, adding new features, fixing bugs, and so that's what we do. We're just starting doing that, working on X3.x, writing a whole new website, Haxe.org, that you know already. But the old was very ugly, and the new is more professional, kind of. And that's all the works we start doing using HaxeFoundation funds. And so we are operating a very small budget because we have a few partners, not a lot of them. And so in this year it was around 50k euros. It's not much. Slightly better in this year because we have new strategic partners this year that I would like to announce to you. We have Playtika and Dockler Holding, and I would like to thank you a lot, and please applaud and thank us for the support they bring us. And of course all the other partners that join us. These are the two strategic partners, so they get the most support for us, and we're very glad to be able to keep developing Haxe thanks to them. And so we are a small team all over the world. So I will introduce all the team members, most of the team members. There is a few others that are contributors, but Andy Lee. Andy, are you here? Yay. He's a Travis CI mastermind, or should I say maybe tamer, because it's really wild to be able to, usually CI is pretty easy, but when you have as much targets as we have across many different operating systems, and you have system language, and you have scripting, and you need to test both the browsers and the like low-level stuff. It's quite a mess. And thank you, Andy, for putting that together and maintaining it over the long time. We have Alexander, Alexander, is you here? Yeah, hey, nice to meet you, by the way. First time I meet you, I guess maybe we didn't. Yeah, first time we meet together. He's been a PHP target maintainer and wrote the new PHP 7 target that we ship in recent years. We have Koei, which is not here, sadly, he's from Brazil, which is doing the Java and C# targets. We have Dan and Jens. Dan, I saw you. Yeah, you were there. Hey. And I think Jens is not here, right? Yeah, he couldn't make it this year. So they are the Sharp EDU team on Slack, and they are working on VSX. I will show you the work they're doing. We have Hugh Sanderson. Hugh? Yeah, I saw you. He's a C++ target maintainer, so if you have some kind of tricky garbage collector bugs, you should ask him. Justin Donaldson for the Lua target maintainer. No, he's not here this year. Okay. And Mark, hey Mark, which is Haxe.org and cookbook, does all work things. And of course, least but not last, Simon, which is our compiler maintainer and working at HaxeFoundation full time. Yeah. So that's most of it. We have also a lot of people contributing, and I couldn't, of course, apologize for this. I forgot I couldn't list all of them, but we have a lot of people contributing to the compiler, to the different tools, and I thank you to all of them. So how we work? On daily basis, we use Slack, XDev channel. We mostly talk about various technical things. It's mostly for the core team, so it's more day-to-day things. It's not about talking about the big next thing or something. It's more about, okay, you commit this thing and something's broken, so then you should kind of, how do we deal with it? Or you have specific issues that's coming up, and it's a bit tricky. So it's more about day-to-day discussions about new features or doing things. We have also GitHub, of course, which has helped a lot with other issues and code comments. Pull requests. We receive more and more pull requests as the time goes. Compiler is quite difficult thing. It's a difficult piece of software. It's written in OCaml, and nobody can contribute. But we get more and more as we go pull requests about new features. We got continuous integration mails that I should read more because they break often, and sometimes it's my fault. And that's it. And we have also we have put together something called HaxeFoundation. How many of you know about HaxeFoundation? Oh, a few of them. Okay, this is something you put together, I think last year or something. Yeah. So it allows community proposals about changing X features or adding new features or kind of working on the next thing about Haxe. It's hosted on GitHub, HaxeFoundation, Haxe-Evolution. So you can submit pull requests that contains specification about things you would like to see added to the language. It have to be quite well defined. It's not about what if we will add that. It's more about, okay, I have this proposal and I would like to work it like this, and it makes this change and this change. It have to be really well defined before it can make it there. So you really have to put some thoughts and work into it before making a proposal. And so it's called an HXP X proposal request. And so yes, it must be fully specified. You can allow it allows variants. For instance, we could do this way or this way. It has this consequence and this consequence. You don't have to decide all of it. If you have some proposal that involves different ways of doing it, you can write them down, all of them, and we can then they can be discussed. And then there's some discussion going on about the usefulness of the feature. So is it something that, for instance, we can do already pretty much with macros? So we don't need it to have some specific compiler support for it. About the clearness of the specification, about the implementation, how it will integrate into the compiler, what kind of problems it can raise. And well, it's not perfect yet. To be honest, we've been trying to find some ways to make it better. But one of the most problem is that language and syntax design is and compiler knowledge is something which is not easy. And some people they have these really good ideas. I think it's very great. And from their perspective, I think we can understand clearly that they want something. But the way we know about the language and the way we design the compiler, we know that it's not something that will work well with the language. So we need to consider Haxe not feature by feature, but as a whole, as an ecosystem. About if I had this, how does it play with all the other things? That's something we try to keep in mind when dealing with issues. And it's not always fully understood by the people that contribute, but well, we try to make it as clear as possible. But we still had 2 successes. One is HaxeXP-1, which is any type, which can be used as a replacement for dynamic. It is more strict. And the other is arrow functions, also called short lambdas, that has been added in #8. Yeah. So this is like the HaxeXP that makes the change into the X compiler. So that being said, I wanted to list a few things I think we are good at. So I don't want to to say we perfect, but I think we're good at maintaining Haxe, which means that fixing the issues, like making things working, and maintaining 12 targets working while changing things is a lot of work. But I think we have a good architecture, and we kind of managed to make it work. And it's yeah, 12 targets is a lot. But the more I think X started with 2 in mind, or 3 at best. No, it's 12. So, well, I mean, the scope is the same, but it's much more broad in terms of all the small things. So, I think we're good at making one of the fastest high-level compiler available, and I think you'll enjoy it. That the speed of the compiler and keeping things really, not a lot of software as they age and as they grow tends to be more and more sluggish. And I think we managed to keep Haxe really at a high level of speed and compilation speed, and while still adding fixtures. And I think something we can be proud of. Having quite high level of stability as well is important for us. Of course, there is a lot of bugs, and we only see the bugs on our side, so we can think maybe it's not stable. But I mean, from your side, I mean, I hope that you don't have that much bugs going on. And we feel there's not so much, because usually when the bug we get reported are already kind of very specific scenario, and not like the daily like hello world or something. So keeping a click on code base, which is important for us if you want to maintain over the long term. So having a very clear compiler architecture, being able to add features without breaking everything is something very important. Being gentle, this is something I think we are good at. It means that there's been no drama at all in the compiler team or between the people working on all the team I wrote down before. And I think that's something pretty rare, to be honest, in the open source world, when you tend to have a lot of forks and people kind of say disagreement about how things should get done. And I think for the past 12 years now, it's been like not much problem about this. So we've been quite united and have the same goal, and I think it's something really great that should be caught. And doing all of this for a long time, which is also we've been doing this already. Like HaxeFoundation starts already almost 4 to 5 years ago, and we've been doing that before HaxeFoundation as open source. For a long time too, and I think we are settled to do that for a very long time, and I think that's really great and a nice thing for you to know that we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere, and you can rely on us to keep doing that for long. So that being said, we're not good. I say we're not perfect. So there's a few things I think we're not very good at, maybe bad at even. First thing is working with milestones and schedules. Since we have a lot of targets and it's quite complex software, saying we want to do that for this day is already in software, it's already difficult because you might hit into some issues. But when you have 12 targets to deal with, then it becomes the scopes, the amount of randomness you get from the specific task gets, exponential. So we should try to find some way to handle better our milestones and having some focus on adding features instead of only fixing bugs and something. So that's something we need to improve that. Decision making also is a bit hard. Initially, I was the one making all the decisions. It's no longer the case. So we have to find some new ways of kind of moving things forward without stalling too much. Communication to outside world. Well, that's what I'm doing today. But I mean also to the outside the Haxe world. We don't do much communication to bring new developers to Haxe. That's something we've not been very good at from the start, and we like to bring more people using Haxe because we think it's a great technology. And if you are here, I think that you think the same as us. And so that's something we need to improve as well. Improving on internal organization, I say, with milestone, everything, and communication about the goals, and business development, bringing also having more. Oh, we lost the signal. Let me check. It's back. Okay. And business development is something also like bringing new partners, growing our budget, being able to have a more dedicated team working on all the different things we need to work on is something we should improve as well. So when I list all of that, that was already the case for a few years ago, and I started doing some things to find a solution to this. So in the last past year, I was looking for CEO or partnership. I did some announcement and I tried to meet some people. And then we start a discussion about various things, but for instance, the CEO thing. I met some guy who was a great guy, and we start talking about, and he was ready to join HaxeFoundation. I've become a CEO, and we start talking, okay, but if I'm in, what's there for me, and what kind of growth can we expect for the HaxeFoundation, as a kind of startup style growth, and then we start talking about, okay, well, how do we make revenues? How do we kind of sell some additional services? And then suddenly, it's starting to be very different from what we're doing right now. It was no longer about making the best compiler or the best software for you. It was trying to find some kind of exclusive services that you had to pay for or something. And I grew uneasy about it, and I was like thinking, oh, maybe that's not the way I wanted to move forward. So yeah, that's something I was thinking that we should keep our values and what we are proud of. And so what I think what's one important for me is that the programming language is not a product. In the means that a product is designed with trying to please the users. You ask the user what they want, and you give it to them. And a programming language, in my own opinion, is something that you should think in terms of perfectness or something. Not about putting more features and kind of putting what people want, but putting what people need, and that's something very different. So it's a very different way of thinking about developing a software, not trying to sell things or to kind of have bring money to the company or something, but more about making the best software possible. Is very different scope. Keep as much possible as open source. That's something we want to keep doing. Empower developers, not tie them. When you're doing trying to operate as a kind of startup style, or you want to kind of be able to tie your developers to your technology, saying, okay, it has a cost to leave the technology or someone. And that's not something we want to do. We want to the developers to kind of get the power of Haxe, but not being tied to it, not being somehow prisoner of Haxe. So we want to really have a lot of openness about this and not trying to tie. So I'm still thinking about how to think better. This search about CEO or partnership with other companies, I didn't really succeed in finding some right approach with it. So we actually have a workshop on that on Saturday. So if you have some ideas, if you want to discuss things more deep, I mean, it was just more resume of things we've been working on. We have a workshop on this on Saturday, and you're welcome to join and propose, and we will all discuss things about how we should move forward with this. And I mean, we are doing well already, but we could improve things in many ways. So, okay. Now we go from the main course. If you have a question, I will ask. I will answer after the talk. X-lattice features with the national source. So, what we've been working on in the past year, since the last summit. Well, first as an introduction, I will say that Haxe is mature in terms of language. Which means that our priority should be on tooling, on the quality, over adding more and more features to the language. That's really something we are thinking is a good way to go for now. We've been almost 2,000 commits since last year conference, and what we did, there's been a lot of work on the Lua and PHP 7 targets improvements over the past release. There's really a lot of work, which means that when new target gets added to Haxe, they have some requirements to pass all the unit tests, and that's already quite a lot of unit tests. Actually, trust me on that, and quite tricky ones actually. And then, of course, when people have some real world code, or we want to improve the code output or the performances, then we just start fixing more and more things. So these two targets that were released in 3.3 and 3.4 has been tremendously improved in the past year. We have a new eval macro interpreter that is gives you more than 4 times the speed up in terms of macro execution. 5 times yet. Yeah, I say more than 4 times. So I still true. I could say more than 1 time, but yeah. So Simon will give a talk about it on Thursdays on 10:50. So be sure to attend it if you want to learn more about how we did things. You're gonna show some code? No, maybe not. No. So I mean, explain how we did it and what it means. We've been working also on the compilation server. Who uses the compilation server here? Come on. Okay, compilation is about to caching the code, allowing fast compilation and compilation. It means that I use it, by the way. and so you set up a compilation server and you start compiling your code, and it will cache all the results, which means that it's only the compiles or what's been modified and the dependencies. And as a result, because you have the cached version of the code, you allow to get really quick completion. Because we're using compiler service for that. So that's something we've been working on, like on the stability, memory output, and many different things. And tool support. Tools are really important for developers. Having ideas that really improve the experience is something more and more important. We've been working with Visual Studio Code integration a lot because it's a new idea that a lot of things are getting added, but it's really easy to plug in things. And actually, you can write things in Haxe, which is nice. You can write the actual plugin in Haxe, use the Visual Code API, which is JS-based. And then it means that we have a nice way to write plugins, which you can contribute to because it's Xcode, so anybody can read. And so it's called the VSX extension. It's credit to the idea team, Dan, Jens, and Simon that have been working on different aspects. There will be, and so we've been working on compiler services. So the idea is that instead of writing things into the IDE itself and having the IDE kind of requiring a lot of code to deal with all the X features, which is already quite a lot in terms of type inference and everything. So basically, if we want to do that, we will have to rewrite a good part of the compiler into the IDE, which is annoying, to be honest. And so we choose a different approach, where the compiler has acts because we have the compilation server that can cache all the results of compilation. We use it as a service that we can query to get information about different things. So it's already under compilation for a few years already, and they added like over type tips when you hover the mouse on some specific function or variable, and it will give you the type, including the type. If it's inference, it can actually run the inferencing and give you the type back. We're working on refactoring, renaming variable, finding a reference. So the scope of the compiler is not to actually change the file, but I give you all the information that the ID you can use to refactor the code. Diagnostics, so real-time errors, use variable or import, no side effect when having some function that doesn't do anything, etc. So to learn more about it, Dan will give a talk on Saturday at 10 on VSX. I know it's early in the morning, but you should be there if you want to learn how to get a better workflow for your Xcode. Okay, that's my part. Myself, I've been working a lot on the HashLink target. Have you heard about heard about the HashLink target? Quite a few of them. Oh, okay, cool. So HashLink is a virtual machine for Haxe. So I announced in October last year. I've been working on this for around 1 year. It's available in X 3.4 in November, 3.4 in November, and it's used to develop and ship Northgard, so it means it's production stable. So we at Shiro Games, we doing a workshop tomorrow about this. We're working a lot of games using HashLink and IPS. So that's a kind of game you can make with HashLink target, which is quite a complex game with a lot of renderings, 3D things, characters, UI. So and this made in Haxe and HashLink entirely. So we lost the output again. I don't know what's wrong with maybe some. Okay, it's back. So one of the most main feature of HashLink is dual compilation. So HashLink has two outputs actually. You can compile to bytecode using Haxe.hl myapp.hl with your parameters. And then you can run with HL myapp.hl is arguments. So the .hl is a cross-platform bytecode file, like a Java class or something, or Java class or something. And then you can run it on any computer, compile it on Windows, and run it on OS X or something. So it's very portable. It uses JIT for x86. I don't have yet x86 64 implemented, and I will work on it, but not yet. It's similar to Neko, which I wrote before, a virtual machine for Haxe, but it's a lot faster because it's pretty typed. So in Neko, it's similar to JavaScript. The bytecode was similar to JavaScript in terms of everything is dynamic, kind of. Everything is not typed, and JavaScript, the modern engines does a lot of inferencing at runtime to kind of trace the actual value to guess if it's an integer or it's a float or something. They have a lot engine of doing that to kind of be able to output some very optimized code. But we don't need that in Haxe because we already know the types at compilation time. So the idea is to have something which is a lot faster. Yeah, like really faster. I mean, like. I don't give numbers because, benchmarks really depends on what you're testing with. You can expect like 10 times or more fast. So, and you can compile also because of the dual compilation. It means you have two ways of compile. One is to bytecode and one to NAFI code. When you generate C code from the output, so it will generate actually a wall of C files, a lot of C files, and the C files are really exactly what the bytecode will do if it was compiled to C. And then you compile with GCC or any C compiler, C++ compiler, to using, so you require C11 specification for Unicode strings, and you link with the runtime, and that's it. So you can compile on also this time if you compile natively, you can do 64 bits, it's okay. And maybe RM, I haven't tested, but I think it will work. So, and yeah, one of the nice aspects about the dual compilation of HashLink is that you get the shared runtime, which means the boss compilation is like bytecode or native code use the same standard library implementation. So they call the same functions. And you have the same garbage collector, and you have the same in-memory representations of values. So it's it's really the same. So one difference is that ones go through an optimizing C compiler, and the other is just bytecode with a JIT at runtime, which is less optimized, but exactly the same semantics. So you are guaranteed to that if it's worked in bytecode, which you use usually on daily development, which is because it's very fast to compile and it starts immediately. Then if you compile, you can compile later to native code, and you are guaranteed it runs exactly the same. It's not like there is not a single difference in terms of runtime, in terms of, you only get better performance because of the C compiler optimization. So it has a full C compatibility, which means that the way we JIT the things are exactly the same. The compiler will compile the C files, which means that the values are compatible between C and HL, which is also nice. We have very low native dependencies in terms of the scope of the standard library is quite small, so it's very easy to adapt to new targets. I will talk a bit more after that. So it's on Windows, OS 6, Linux, and mobile. Yeah, and still working on it. I mean, it's really stable. Like I said, we ship already a few games with it, so it's really working in production. And but I'm still a lot of things to do in the future. One is consoles. We've been working on PS4 already. It's running, and so you have the whole engine running on PS4. Nintendo Switch, we just started and it should be available soon. And Xbox, we have DirectX already working for the whole library. So it's also something we will do and ship. I mean, not ship because some of them are proprietary SDKs, so we cannot ship and make it open source. But as long as you are registered developers for Sony or Nintendo or Microsoft, you can come to talk to me, and I can give you the access to the actual code to be able to run the engine with this. So debugger, I started doing some debugging testing, so I have the stop and breakpoints working and stack trace and everything. But I want to do it, finish it entirely with all the features of the debugger, and allow a VS Code integration to have really a full debugger, Ashling debugger. It will only be Windows at first. Also, the debugger API I look at, it's pretty possible to have it work on Linux and OS 6 as well. I want to work also on the 64 bits JIT. Require me to do a bit of refactoring, but right now compiling Ashling by yourself is a bit difficult on OS 6 and Linux. Once it's compiled, it's really easy to run because it's bytecode, but it requires you to compile because it's 32 bits JIT only. It requires you to install a lot of libraries in 32 bits mode, which are not really available for all the libraries we are using. So it's a bit of difficulty to compile because the noise default is 64. Increase the GC performances. They are okay, and but they could be better. And if you want to learn more, I'm doing a Ashlink's IPS.io workshop tomorrow at 3. That will be about mostly getting set up your computer with Haxe, Ashlink, and IPS, and then being able to show some 3D things or 2D things, learning a bit about the API for IPS, and well, you can see that tomorrow if you're interested. One more thing, we've been releasing like 3.4.3, which is a bug fix release, which is available right now on the website. And well, that's something you maybe don't care, but maybe you care more about this. We've been releasing X 4.0 preview. So it's not a release candidate, which means it's not the full thing we want to put in 4.0. So it means that if you test it, it will break some things already because it's a major release, but it might break other things for the final release, so be careful. But if you want to test all the things we are talking in this conference, like the Simon things or the VS Code or all these things, you need to get this, okay? And so if you want to really get the latest features and everything, just go and download the 4.0 preview and play with it. And give us your feedback and bug reports. I'm sure we will and have a few of them, hopefully. Am I running past time or just in time? Okay. So, some research. I wanted to read about X success story we had this year. So we had a lot of great Steam indie games released. So one is my Northgard, which is the one I'm making, so just full disclosure. And so we've been released on Steam in February, and we sold already more than 300,000 units of it on Steam. So it's really great success, and we will growing the company. And they've been also like Dead Cells, which is also made in X and Ashlink. We've been released on Steam also in June. It's already is over almost 500,000 units on Steam. So both are, I mean, among the top indie success this year on Steam, and both are made in Axe. So I think we can be proud of that. And yeah, thank you. And one of my friends working on this is not trade release, but it got the Gamescom Indie Award at Gamescom's in Cologne last month. And it's work on some kind of crazy metal rhythm game, which hopefully is also written in Axe. So we see more and more titles going on, and I hope you guys also working on something that will bring success to Axe, and you can say, oh, this made like Axe, and we are happy about it. So yeah, right. So yeah, for this kind of usage, so the problem we have with Axe when we talk about Axe is about a lot of people say, oh, but what you can do with Axe, and there's a lot of things you can do with it. So it's really complex because you have all these different scenario when you can do this or that. So, well, from my perspective, gaming is one of the things, and I want to promote it and prove that Axe is really viable for doing this kind of games. And I have really some great success is good for that. So that's it for now. I'd like to thank you. And if you have any questions about all the things I've been presenting or other things as well. Yeah, Simon, question. Yeah, we do have a microphone for the audience. No, we don't. Okay. I can repeat.
I just take over, it's okay. So you mentioned a lot of people, great people in the community, and I would just like to mention two more of them who are actually here today. One of them is Valentin, who helped out basically everywhere, and he actually redid our entire website and nobody noticed, which is a great achievement. So thank you for that. And the other one is Heinz, who's in the back there. He originally wrote the Python target, which I don't think too many people care about, but what he's doing now is working on Unicode support for Hex, and that I think more people care about. So thank you for that, and keep it up.
Yeah, I say we have a lot of people contributing. Thank you to all of us, to all of you. Other questions or remarks? No? No, come on. No? Well, anyway, I'm the other, yeah. Yeah, marketplace for mobile extensions. Yeah, marketplace. Yeah, one of the things that right now I think we don't have some kind of packaging systems that allow us to ship extensions or Xcode without sharing the source code. That's something maybe that prevents a bit of the marketplace things. That's something we've been suggesting a few times already, to kind of be able to pack a kind of binary version of your code without sharing all of it and only the API. And well, maintaining a marketplace might be, I know it works well for a few technologies. We have really a lot of open source libraries right now. So yeah, that's something we can discuss. And yeah, please, we'll have maybe a discussion with more people involved on the talk on Saturday, and that could be a good idea too. Yeah. Other questions? No? Okay. So we go. Have a nice conference. Thank you very much.